So when did STEM start? I believe that it started about 2.8 million years ago with one of these, a rock. Homo habilis started chipping away at one of these to create a tool. And that tool is a big T for technology. And in the process, of course, there was engineering, there was science, and I could even argue for the math. So I believe STEM started 2.8 million years ago. We just couldn't say it yet. Ever since then, STEM, the use of, the focus on, has just continued to grow exponentially. Skipping over a lot of really important things, including the Industrial Revolution, we get to the 1950s, specifically 1958, when the satellite, Sputnik, orbiting over the United States, beeping, sparked the space race. And as a component of the Defense Education Act, funded a lot of science education in order to get the engineers and the scientists to build the space equipment. In the 1960s and 70s, we got new math and way more hands-on science. In the 1990s, we had MST, that's Math, Science, Technology, as a curriculum. In the NSF, that's the National Science Foundation, they gave us SMET, S-M-E-T, SMET. I'm a SMET teacher. Who thought this was a good idea? This, to me, is one of the biggest marketing blunders in history. Of course, SMET is STEM spelled the wrong way. In 1996, the National Science Education Standards, they moved us away from content and way more towards processes. That's learning through inquiry, interpreting results, experimenting. In 2001, something major happened. Miraculous. Can you guess? The NSF changed SMET to STEM. Now, the next major STEM event was in 2010 when the Committee on STEM Education was established to create the STEM Education Strategic Plan. And in 2018, it was just updated. Many people see STEM as a comprehensive way to teach science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, all together or as many as possible rather than separately. Others will tell you that STEM is about getting kids hands-on. Well, again, it's a best educational practice to get them kinesthetically involved. It is not the definition of the STEM movement. The biggest fallacy, those letters, those individual letters where if you're on a T, that T stands for technology and that is here in my hand. So it doesn't matter what I am doing, as long as I am on this, it is STEM. Can we have a buzzer? Because this is a big fact. If that is true, then I am bringing in my pointy stick that I found at TeacherGeek, which worries me a little bit because I'm not sure if we have vampires. But this wooden stick also counts as then T for technology. In fact, it counts for everything. As in the science, again, that we use to figure out the properties of materials, the math for the measuring, the engineering that went into the design. We've got it all covered right here with this pointy stick. So if you're going to say that STEM is simply each letter individually, I'm thinking you might be wrong. Do you get my point? STEM is not the letters categorically, fitting anything and everything that could fall under each individual letter. Rather, it's a movement, an initiative. It started to get kids inspired and interested in the realms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but it's now so much more. The definition of engineering is the application of math in science. So engineering is actually attached to the S, the M, and the T. I actually think that we should kind of rearrange these letters one more time. Not smitten with it, but what if it looked like this? If the S and the M and the T were down at the bottom, we can then put the E up above. Why? Because it's kind of where it belongs. Not only that, as you're engineering, you're using higher cognitive skills. But engineering doesn't necessarily mean the top. Now, what could be the top? It's actually where this video is heading. The top is innovation. So this is what I use in order to define our projects at TeacherGeek. Whereas we're looking to bring in the math, the science, and the technology through engineering, but ultimately, we're looking to get kids to become innovators. But don't those characteristics sound like those that are beneficial to just about anyone in society? You're right. So STEM is no longer about simply feeding those career fields. STEM is an initiative that benefits everyone in society. Is my ed psych teacher out there, sophomore year, Darren Coon. I'm so sorry that I did not pay enough attention during your class, specifically when you were going over Bloom's taxonomy. No, don't get me wrong. I remember it, but when I started teaching, I feel as though I should have remembered a little bit better. You see, I listened to some other professors, and they told me to just throw a bunch of parts at kids, to not give them a lot of guidance or instruction, simply give them a challenge, some parts, and let them go. It kind of looked like this. Some kids make it, but way too many of them crash and burn. And way too many of the projects end up turning out the same. So I should have listened to you, but I have now. If you can just stick around for a couple of minutes, let's see if I can get this right. In 1956, Benjamin Bloom and his team created a pyramid. Not that kind. One that represented educational goals, taking kids from simple concrete to abstract and higher level. In 2001, a group of psychologists and researchers switched up Bloom's pyramid a little bit, most notably at the top, where it became create. The rest of it became more dynamic as more content was added. Can you hold on for a second? I'm creating something. So what is create? Is it just making stuff? Or is it the act of recombining prior knowledge with deep understanding to create something new and different? At TeacherGeek, this is the taxonomy that we use. It's a revision of Bloom's. And what did we do? We switched out the bottom remember with memorize. I think memorization gets a bad rap. Sure, there's way too much of it at school, but it's because we stop there so often instead of taking the kids up in cognitive domains. We took the most recent create and exchanged it with innovate because we're really worried. Create, you can do that without any understanding or effort. But to innovate, that denotes that it was deliberate in your process of creating something new and different through understanding. Why does innovate make so much sense sitting up at the top of that pyramid? Because you can't do that, you can't get there without mastering every level below it. Let's slide in that STEM graphic for your big aha moment. A high-performing STEM program is akin to Bloom's taxonomy, as our end goal is to take kids as high as possible in cognitive domains, to become innovators and problem solvers and critical thinkers. STEM done right is Bloom's taxonomy. I hope that helps solidify your understanding of STEM. What? It's not STEM anymore? For some people, STEM is now STEAM. Let's take a look at what that means. So what's the A for? Webster Dictionary defines it as the application of human skill and creativity. But isn't creativity part of the innovative process? Why, yes, it is. And isn't innovation already at the top of the chart that we use when we are teaching STEM at TeacherGeek? It is. It's my belief that if you're a STEM teacher and you're already teaching creativity and innovation, keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to teach STEAM and incorporate the art to make sure that you key in on that creativity, then go for it. When STEM or STEAM is taught properly, they're a lot more closely aligned than people think.